3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Pro Wrestling Power Hour. We haven't been here for a few weeks. I am Jordan, if you don't know me, big wrestling fan, watched wrestling a long time, and I have a good friend of mine who co-hosts this show every time we do it. Luke, how are you, Luke?
Yeah, good. Well, good. We had we haven't done it in a couple of weeks because we had 1 week where you were away. I was away the following week.
Yeah.
So it was a bit.
And then our schedules just got a bit mixed up, but
it's worked out well because it's landed right on Double or Nothing. So
yes,
we can talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. My initial kind of thoughts on that show, which is where I'll start.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. I thought it was really good. There was one match in particular that I really didn't care about. But other than that, I thought it was really good.
Fair.
What about you? What did you think? Okay.
To be honest, I think there was a lot that we'll get into it when we break down the matches, but I think there was a lot that was kind of fine, and there were a couple of matches that could have been great, but they did things that ruined them.
Yeah,
or like
true.
dropped them down. There were 2 matches back to back that I thought were very strong. And a couple of like spots and bits and pieces around that were pretty great.
For sure.
But I think there was a fair bit that dragged it down a bit for me.
Do you know one thing I do think this show was missing before we get into breaking down the matches? One thing I think it was missing really is something that AEW have been quite good at, and I realize they can't have it every single time, but they didn't really have a moment this time, right? And they tried to, in some weird way, make Mark Henry that moment.
And it
really just
weird.
Wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if he had a music, it might have helped.
Yeah, that was really weird.
But it was, yeah.
Like, it would have been way cooler if he didn't be like, yeah, it's Mark Henry. It would have been way cooler if he didn't say anything and he came out to some...
However, I do, I'm not going to be too harsh on them about that because you can't have a moment every single time.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah.
But it's just a shame. There wasn't a standout... For me, there wasn't a moment in this show where you go, "Oh my god, did you see that?" or whatever.
No.
It's like it's and that's something they're usually very good at. So that was a little bit disappointing.
I think they overcomplicated it.
Okay, interesting.
I really think they overcomplicated some things when they shouldn't have. They should have just kept it more simple. And a couple of things they probably should have overthought a bit.
Okay, interesting.
So I think some of the things they just got the wrong way around.
I think what we should do to start with then is just give a complete rundown of the results so that people know what the results are, and then we can go back match by match and go through it. So why don't you give people the results, Luke?
So, I didn't see this match.
Okay.
Serena Deeb.
This was the pre-show. This was the pre-show one. I didn't see this match either.
I didn't watch that, so I can't speak of it. Adam Page beats Brian Cage, which was fun because Paige Cage. Throw Christian Cage in there as well and make it all the more fun. Young Bucks beat Eddie Kingston and John Moxley, so they retained their tag titles. Jungle Boy eliminated Christian Cage last to win the Casino Battle Royal, and he gets a title shot in a couple of weeks' time, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
For sure.
Cody Rhodes beat Anthony Ogogo. Miro retained against Lance Archer. Britt Baker finally won the Women's Championship, beating Sheila. Darby Allin and Sting beat Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Kenny Omega retained his world title against Orange Cassidy and Pac, and the Inner Circle won the Stadium Stampede against the Pinnacle.
Do you know one thing I've noticed about every single result as you've kind of been going through them there?
They're very obvious.
It's so telegraphed, like every single one.
Yeah.
And it's
It was so obvious.
They should have at least switched one of those. You know, one of those should have been what you didn't expect. Whether that be Cody losing, I think could have been
That's
quite
the
an
one.
interesting one.
That's the one I thought it should have been as well.
Although I wasn't extremely hot on that match. Let's start there, as we brought up Cody.
No, let's start at the top. We'll start
Okay,
at the top.
okay. You want to start?
Just to make it easier. Just to make it easier. Otherwise, I'll lose where we are.
Fair. Fair.
So yeah, we got to skip over Serena Deeb and Riho.
Yeah, we didn't watch that one. That was pre-show. But I imagine, given those two,
probably great because Serena Deeb is incredible. It's a shame she's in a way. It's a shame she's the NWA champ because she could be right up there.
For
and
sure.
she is the sort of thing that AEW's women's division needs because it's pretty lackluster.
So Luke, how did you feel about Paige versus Cage first match?
I do not like Brian Cage.
Okay, interesting.
He is so dull.
Do you think it's to do with him, or is it because of how they're using him?
I think it's how he's used. Because
he has the ability, right?
He and like Keith Lee are like head to head for the best big guy, like athletic big guy.
Yeah.
But the way they're using him is just so boring. It's so dull. He has no character. He's just whatever. It's just.
However, there was a sign in this match that maybe they're going to start going in a different direction with him.
I always thought him paired with Taz and that group was odd, to be honest. I never thought he needed it. I think, that he's got enough about him and he's not necessarily interesting enough, but he has got enough about his character.
Yeah, for sure.
He could. Yeah, he never needed Taz, I don't think.
It's almost like the group needed him more than he needed them.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also weird because I really think Brian Cage being the main guy has kind of stilted that group a bit. I think there could have been more interesting things with, like, just without him, have Powerhouse Hobbs, because Hobbs is great and he is a bit inexperienced, so having that group around him would be great. I think Randy, what's his name? I forgot his name. He's injured at the moment.
Yeah,
he's got a bad neck.
I can't think of his name.
It's fine. He wasn't in the match, so it's fine. But I really hope they move on and do something else with Brian Cage because he feels a bit wasted. And I don't know what the hell are they doing with Adam Page.
I don't know. It's almost
he was a number one contender for a minute, and then they were like, "Oh shit, no, we need to change that." But it's really weird.
But this is something I actually think they've messed up quite a lot. Where at times it seems like they are doing the WWE thing, where they've got a plan and then they change their mind like a week before.
Yeah, it's almost like they It is almost like they have the plan, but they keep maybe putting things in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a long-term plan for Adam Page.
Or actually, I think there's quite a lot of things that, we could have a whole conversation about long-term story booking and versus short-term and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually don't think AEW do short-term stories very well.
Yeah.
I really don't think they do.
As we'll find out a bit later.
I think it's something they incredibly struggle with.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, it actually means that often they're trying to do too many long form stories at one time.
I think that's exactly the problem. I think they think too long term all the time, whereas you should have 2, maybe 3 long through lines, a couple of shorter ones, and then a couple of really short ones.
So if we focus on Adam Page for a minute, he was obviously in the first world title match for the company. Cool. It makes sense that he didn't win. They needed Jericho to win that match, really. However, by now he probably should have at least.
I think he's probably going to be the one to beat Kenny.
Yeah.
But I think they made a mistake in letting him get to the stage where he's like, oh shit, he's the number 1 rated.
Yeah.
We need to do something about that. Brian Cage, beat him now.
And that's
really weird.
Almost the thing, right? It's almost like because they're trying to, and I do actually applaud Tony Khan for it. I think he's trying to create a product that is different, and where maybe sometimes they don't even know themselves what direction they're going to go in.
I honestly think it was probably just a little bit of a case of they were spinning too many plates at once, and they kind of not necessarily forgot, but didn't really reel Adam Page's stuff in quick enough. Because the whole Impact thing would have been really tricky to pull off completely. So.
For sure, but this is my exact problem with what AEW does is like, and I suppose this is the problem. With no offense to anyone there, I think they're all brilliant, but I think this is the problem when you have wrestlers who are still on the active show controlling the company, essentially.
Yeah. I think they do need someone that's just not having to balance.
And I don't know
their own storyline wrestling,
and we don't know what their backstage situation is like. We have heard that Tony Khan still makes the final decisions.
Yeah.
But with no disrespect to Tony Khan, the one thing that he doesn't have, the one thing that he doesn't have going for him either is he is incredibly busy, but also he's a wrestling fan. So if it's something he wants to see, he's just gonna say yes, I would assume.
I don't know. I think he's smarter than that. He does have an incredible knowledge. He does know,
right? Yeah.
But I think he just needs that guy. I think he needs a direct advisor.
I wonder how they would benefit. And this is, this would never happen, but this is just... I wonder how they would benefit from Paul Heyman.
Greatly.
Being there as a creative mind. Do you know what I mean?
Because I honestly think he just needs like an assistant or something like that.
Yeah.
From the sounds of it, it's Tony Khan and then it's the Elite and Cody.
Yeah.
I think you need somewhere in between because Tony Khan, like I said, he's very, very busy.
One thing I will say to the Elite and Cody, one thing I think they've done incredibly well, which we haven't seen done well before, is they'll put themselves in the show, sure.
Yeah.
And Kenny right now is the champion, sure. But he kind of... It makes sense, kind of, for him to be in that space. However, and they do win a lot, but they also lose, and they don't make the show about them, and I appreciate that. I think when we've seen it in other companies in the past, wrestlers make the show about them.
TNA, in particular, Jeff Jarrett being the champion forever.
Yeah. So I think they're very good. I just wonder if they could benefit from some extra kind of...
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they could do with someone extra in there that isn't a wrestler.
Yeah, because imagine
trying to juggle all that must be tough.
Let's just use Paul Heyman as the example for a minute.
Yeah.
And you look at what Paul Heyman did with SmackDown back in the day, right?
Not too long ago as well. Yeah.
And it's like, and you look at someone like Adam Page on AEW, and you think if Paul Heyman was there, how would they be using Adam Page?
I do worry
in comparison. Do you know what I mean?
I think they really need that, especially with 4 shows now, 4 shows in a week. They're going to be doing, and I'm like, are we not just rein it in a bit?
I feel like the same matches all the time on every show, right?
And like my biggest worry is that one of them is pretty much just a 3-hour show, just spread across 2 channels.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like it's a bit too much too soon. I think there's already people being lost by the wayside on 2 shows. I think we should just chill for a bit.
Because they've obviously got Rampage coming up, right? Which is the new show. And that one is actually on TV as well. It's not...
Yeah, it literally follows Dynamite. It's a bit mad.
But it's just odd. It's just a bit like, why do it like that? I don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah. If it was on a different day, then sure. But
if you were having a second show on a different day, and even if you made that show something slightly different, so like make it like an NXT, where
that's what Elevation is, or Dark is essentially. That is their developmental kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's like, but does anyone actually watch that?
I honestly don't know.
Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where AEW right now is great when they really get things right,
Yeah.
but they still are having those early problems, right?
Yeah, I like I said, I think it's a bit too much too soon, because I don't think, they've got a great roster, but it's not a huge one by any
It is
stretch.
not quite good enough to
Like
do 4
they've got,
shows, right?
they've got some really top tier talent. They got some great mid cards, and then they got some great up and comers.
Yeah.
I don't think they've got enough for 4 shows.
They don't
personally.
have, it's like they're trying to become, they're not actually trying to compete with WWE directly in that sense, but it's
Well, I
like,
mean, that isn't one of their shows going up against a WWE show.
oh yeah, true. And but you do wonder, it's like, are they trying to be WWE size too quick? Because obviously the Khan family do actually have more money than Vince McMahon. They have more resources. So you wonder whether those resources make them think, yeah, we could do it. We could do it quicker.
It sounds like it was a TNT thing. They were like, look, we're going to move you to TBS, but we want to put you on for an hour here.
Yeah.
And they've just gone, yeah, cool. It's like, no, let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, let's think about what we're actually doing.
You're about to go back on the road. You don't want another show on top. Like, no. I think it's too much too soon.
It's going to be interesting.
I hope they prove me wrong.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I also suspect, I think if we look at wrestlers that are available, I can see their top card growing by 3 or 4 wrestlers over the next few months.
I think they could grow everywhere, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be honest. Hopefully, the women's division.
Yeah.
Because it's still pretty poor.
And there's two women in particular that are definitely available right now.
3. I'd get Mickey James in as well.
Yeah.
She'd be dope.
So, let's move on to the next match.
So, I think this was actually my favorite match.
Okay.
I think. So we had the Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston and John Moxley. And this was really fun because there was so much shithousery going on in this.
For sure.
It was great. You had like Eddie Kingston and Moxley doing the traditionally heel tactic of like distracting the referee with the other guy.
Yeah.
And then like,
do you know what?
The Bucks were just impersonating different wrestlers. They went to do the Shield like power.
Yes, I know that. Yeah,
fucking great.
Yeah,
awesome.
One thing that I really noticed about this match is how good of a team Kingston and Moxley are.
Yeah.
They are genuinely a great team. Yeah. Their characters have the right chemistry as well, and Moxley is someone I've always liked. But I actually, from a character perspective, have always found him quite boring.
I did that was WWE really.
Yes.
Until he moved back to being Moxley. It just kind of unleashed him. It kind of felt like when Steve Austin finally got unleashed and he was allowed to do his shit.
That's true. That's true. But for me, the thing about Moxley, I guess, was that he always felt very samey, where it was like, I know exactly what I'm going to get from him every time. He didn't have, you brought up Austin as the comparison there. I don't think Moxley has ever had that element of, oh, I really actually don't know what you're going to do. It always felt like I knew exactly what was going to happen.
I think that's I think there's only one person that has that in AEW. And that's Darby Allin, just because he's fucking psychopath.
For sure. But what I mean about the reason I was bringing that up is because I think that Moxley with Kingston, them together gives me the impression of like, okay, I don't know what you two guys are going to do.
I think they are incredible together. And it's tough because AEW's tag team is a pretty good division.
Yeah.
The Acclaimed are coming through and they're great. I can't remember his name, but the dude that raps, he's great. He's really funny.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember his name either.
To be fair, I don't remember either of their names off the top of my head because they're still quite fresh to me.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed this match apart from the finish.
I was going to say that. I did enjoy this one. The finish was odd and also they messed it up. Did you notice that?
It just looked really soft. After all the hard hitting that went on in that match,
they almost needed.
It kind of really just cushion.
The thing is, do you know what I feel like they almost needed? And I'm no wrestling expert by any means, but just from a fan perspective, I feel like they almost needed one more false finish where you thought Mox and Kingston were going to win.
Yeah.
They almost needed one more
Well,
false
I think it just needed a bigger, more devastating, this is how you put Mox down.
Yeah.
Rather than just like, oh, we're going to knee him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because those knees did not look convincing at all.
If they had done the Shield powerbomb and ended it that way,
that would have been
would have worked.
That would have been awesome, yeah. I would have loved that. But I don't know. Those knees really grated on me because when you compare him to what Daniel Bryan does, for instance,
for sure.
And like to put Moxley down, you need to really hit hard, and it just looked too soft.
So for the future of both of these teams, then I guess, where do you think they go?
I imagine Moxley's gonna go away for a bit soon.
Yeah. Because having the baby.
Yeah. I don't know what Kingston does, to be honest.
I think being with Moxley has helped Kingston get over, right?
I mean, he's huge.
And he could now potentially do something on his own, but I don't know exactly what that is. That's the problem.
Yeah. One thing that really annoyed me about all of the Elite's matches were the run-ins.
Go on. Yeah.
It's just too much. It happens too often. It's obviously boring, and it really didn't need it. It was a really pointless one this time because they didn't. Neither Gallows or Anderson actually got in the ring.
No. So what?
It was really pointless. It was just like, oh, we need to get these guys on to get them a paycheck. It's like, dude, just come on.
And also, like if they're gonna come on, let them do something. Let them do something of consequence, because then it doesn't
have that be the way
like
they put Mox down. Have them hit the Magic Killer into or do a quadruple power bomb or something like that. Have that be the finish
for sure, and
then have them scoot out, because then it felt really random having Kazarian pop up, even though it wasn't. It was the Bucks that beat Kazarian and Daniel split up the team.
Yeah, it was almost like, we need someone who makes the most sense.
Who was the other person? Someone else ran in, didn't they, to beat up Gallows? I can't remember who it was.
No, Kingston.
Oh, it was Kingston, was it?
Yeah, he jumped off the apron and
yeah, that's right. Just having Kazarian come out kind of randomly.
Yeah, it's odd. It's really odd.
But that's exactly what I mean. It's like this was a great match, but then there's a couple of things peppered in that.
Yeah, that definitely the run-in definitely took away from this match. Definitely did. And the finish also took away from this match, I think.
Yeah. I still think it was the best.
I don't think it was the best.
No, I don't actually.
I don't think it was the best match. But let's move forward.
Yes.
Let's move forward. What do we have next?
We've got the Casino Battle Royal.
I enjoyed this.
Firstly, I did enjoy it, but I hate the concept.
Yeah.
I think the concept's bad.
It should just be a battle. It should basically be a Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah, it should. It should. But you can keep the casino thing. And I was watching Cultaholic, and I think it was... Who was it? I can't remember who said it, but someone said that they should do it like the Royal Rumble, but have it as a roulette wheel.
Yeah.
Instead, and have the roulette wheel be, how you decide who comes out. Because you missed that.
Yeah.
You missed the, it's that guy, or it's that guy. I think the wild card thing at the end is really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that it was Leo Rush.
Yeah, because I knew it was going to be somebody who we didn't expect, because I felt like they had to have something in the show that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't expecting Leo Rush.
I think it was a shame he went up against Matt Hardy, because he's looking worse for wear and he fucked a couple of spots up with Leo.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like the way they do the Casino Battle Royal. It's just,
I mean,
it's so convoluted, and it's just, we're going to group these people together and they're all going to come in at once, and then this next group of people
it's the fact that they all come in at once as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what hurts it. You could do the group thing. You could do the group thing, but just don't have them all come in at once.
Maybe change it and don't make it a Royal Rumble kind of thing, or make it a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Maybe, or something. I don't know. I think
they
could get away with doing
alter it. I think. I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, why have they done that and then gone? No, Blood and Guts is literally War Games.
And also, to be honest, why are we still having Double or Nothing? Like, it
I think
made
Double or
sense.
Nothing's a cool.
It made sense the first time because of what the first show was.
Nah, I like Double. I like the casino theme. I think it's a cool theme.
Okay.
I think it's a cool theme. I really just think that the roulette wheel, because one, it would have to be like 36, 37 people because the roulette wheel has 36 numbers, and then you throw in a wild card, maybe. Yeah. Two, it adds more because it feels like it's super obvious who's coming, and
and also I don't actually think they treat the match with enough prestige.
No,
that's the problem.
I completely agree.
It's a more prestigious match than they actually give it credit for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem.
Well, and that's kind of the problem. It does feel very throwaway.
Like,
Jungle Boy's won, and he's just getting a title shot in 2
Jungle
weeks.
Boy winning should have been one of the last 3 matches on the show. Like, not necessarily the main event, because I understand why the match that was the main event was.
I don't. I disagree with it.
Okay, interesting.
That should have been so that should have probably been like 3rd. You know what? That would have been a great opener, actually.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a fantastic way to open the show. The title match should have been the main event.
Yeah.
And then the Battle Royal should have been the second main event.
Yeah. That's fair. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how they've managed to use licensed music to get Jungle Boy over even more, but they really have at this point.
Well, it's something Tony Khan's wanted to do for a while. He's always said that he wanted to have licensed music be more of a part of wrestling. It kind of legitimizes it. I think
licensed music is cool, but I do think they are edging on the line of maybe using it too much.
Yes. And I think a lot of the problem is a lot of AEW's music is very generic.
Yeah.
So like, I almost called him Big Show, but he's not Big Show anymore. But you
Paul
get me. Paul White. When he came down, it was like, that could be anyone.
and like we've said before, they could just really benefit from Jim Johnston coming in
100%
and doing 100%. some really like character driven themes, because that's what that guy is good at.
Yeah, it is. To be fair, I like Orange Cassidy's. I think it fits him perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Moxley's.
Okay.
I think it works as like a team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think Moxley's original AEW music is far better.
I agree.
Way better.
I agree. As a team, I do think it works though.
Yeah, I think as a team, I think that works.
Yeah.
I think it's fine as a team.
And their entrance was cool. I did want to mention that earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see he lost the shoes? He had to go find them.
Did he? Oh my god.
Yeah. He had to go back for them. Kingston was stood there like, dude, you forgot to go get the shoes.
Yeah, we need the shoes.
Yeah. Really funny. But yeah, Jungle Boy beats out Christian Cage, which I think was a great choice.
Do you know what I think is really clever about this? Is Christian could have won and people still would have been happy, I think.
No.
However,
they were booing him.
Were they?
Yeah. They were booing him.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Depending on who he was going after, they were booing. Who was the other? So they booed him when he was going after Jungle Boy, obviously.
Yeah.
Everybody booed Jungle
They
Boy.
cheered him against Hardy, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
They cheered him against Hardy. No, but this is my thing. The reason I thought this was so clever is because, one, nobody expects Jungle Boy to become champion yet anyway, right?
Unfortunately.
But it does push him up a little bit.
It does.
It achieves something for him that Christian doesn't need. The thing about Christian is they could throw Christian in a world title match next week and it kind of makes sense.
So this was the biggest problem for me with the Casino Battle Royal.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody there is ready for a title shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't think there was a single person
other than the ones who didn't need it, right?
In AEW, other than Moxley, MJF, and a couple of other people, I don't think they've got anyone that should be at that level. They haven't got anyone that feels like they should be.
No, but do you know what? One thing I will say, because I sort of agree with you, but I do think wrestling does this odd thing sometimes where sometimes someone isn't ready until they already have it, and then you
Mm.
realize that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
Sometimes it does feel like people aren't really ready. And then when they actually get the belt, you go, "Oh yeah, this is sick."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That is true.
so yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do think
Yeah, 100%.
there are
No,
maybe
100%.
there are maybe more people there who could do it than
Well,
we
it's the
realize.
Kofi Kingston thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, oh no, Kofi's not going to win. Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah, no, this works. 100%. No, 100%.
For sure. But this is my thing. So I'm going to spoil the title match just because we know. I want to speak about Jungle Boy now because we know he's getting the title match in 2 weeks. It's obvious as hell. Kenny Omega won the 3-way. Brilliant match, which we will talk about a bit later. But my point, what I don't like, and this is one thing as well that AEW have done a few times, and I really don't like it, because I think that they think it gives the show a feeling of, oh, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know that Jungle Boy getting a world title shot on Dynamite in 2 weeks means that there's no way in hell that he's winning.
Yeah.
Like, you know that if he's getting it that quick, it means there's no way in hell that he's winning.
Absolutely. Unless
they're building a much bigger story with him. But they haven't really done that so far in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Title changes like that on a weekly show is very, 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 very rare. Didn't we see it with Omega? Isn't that where he won it? He won it on Dynamite?
Oh, yeah, he might have actually. I can't remember now.
Was it not on Dynamite that he won it? So I highly doubt they're going to do that again.
Yeah, so it's an odd one. It's just an odd one. It's like, why make a deal? Because they did make a big deal of Jungle Boy winning this match. Like, they did, they made a big deal of it. They had the moment with Christian in the ring after he won.
That was great. That actually got me a little bit.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that actually got me a bit. I was like, oh man, yeah.
Yeah. Another bit that got me was Max Caster. That's the guy who raps.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
when he came out and he was like, Christian was good when he had an edge.
Yeah.
That one.
The only thing that annoyed me about that is he didn't say anything about Hobbs, which I kind of get because they're both heels, but it's like not all heels have to like each other. Like,
no,
what have you got for Hobbs?
But yeah,
I thought some of the eliminations were pretty weak.
Yeah, and I also, do you know what? I want to go back to Leo Rush a second because I actually think he got screwed a bit.
I do as well.
I don't understand why you give him that special spot in this match, because that is a special spot, and then you basically have him out within 90 seconds.
Well, it just made him look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Even the commentators were like, what are you doing, Leo? You're standing on the ropes. You're clearly going to get up. There he goes.
Yeah.
So dumb.
So dumb.
It was so dumb. And you'd be way cooler.
So I don't know what they're doing with Jungle Boy right now. This is my problem. Is why have him win this match, make a big deal of it by having the rest of the Jurassic Express come out, having the moment with Christian in the ring. I get that one day Jungle Boy will be there, because he will. Like, they've, that's forecast enough that I think it's a safe bet.
Absolutely.
And he's a good enough, he is a very good wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, he's what, 20-something? He's very young.
Yeah.
He's 23.
Wow.
That's disgusting. Oh,
wow.
How dare he?
And, this, I just don't get it. I don't get why give him this moment to then
100%.
What I assume is going to be bury him in 2 weeks' time.
Do you know who should have won?
Go on.
Penta.
Yeah.
I think Penta should have won. Because, honestly, he should leave AEW.
Yeah, because what are they doing, right?
They are just fucking doing nothing with him. They're just like, oh, we need a match. Penta, you're going to lose. What are you doing with Penta? He's one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
Sure, he's injured. And now he's got a random tag team match for the titles. He and Pac are going for the Young Bucks on Dynamite. It's like, why? Where does that come from?
And this is my exact problem with AEW and this pay-per-view. As we're going through it, makes me realize it's like, is just all a bit too random sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, to a certain degree, again, Jungle Boy winning kind of felt a bit random. It kind of felt...
It would make more sense if it wasn't just you're going to get a match in 2 weeks on Dynamite.
Yeah.
If it was at, like, All In or All Out or, whatever their version of WrestleMania would be.
Yeah.
Then sure. Or if it was you get a chip that you can cash in at some point.
I mean, at this point, we have to assume that All Out is their WrestleMania, right?
All In.
Yeah, true.
I would imagine All In is theirs. I wonder if they're just kind of stuck at the minute, because I think I know potentially who they want to beat Kenny.
Joe?
Moose.
You reckon they're going to go for Moose?
I really think Moose. Moose is great.
Moose is great.
Moose is fantastic.
You think they're going to do that?
His contract's up at TNA very soon.
Oh, wow, okay.
His contract is up very soon. And I've said it all along. If Moose was in that match with Kenny Omega instead of Rich Swann, it would be a bit more like, ooh, who is actually going to win?
Yeah,
because when it's Rich Swann, it's like, Rich Swann is great, but it's like, he's never going to beat Kenny.
True.
Moose is fantastic. And I think given a bigger platform, I think he could be an absolute star.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, this is my thing. One thing I want to ask as a quick tangent is when do you think AEW do the thing? Because they haven't really done it yet. When do you think they do the thing where they have a debut and that person does go for the main title straight away?
I don't think they do.
You don't think they do, even if they get like a Bryan?
No.
Interesting.
Because I
was thinking to myself the other day, like, we know that.
Okay, the only way it happens is if they get Lesnar.
Wow, you think it would be?
That's the only way it happens. I don't think they're dumb enough to do it any other way. Because it always leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
Unless it is someone like Moose, where they've had matches before and then they're coming over to actually take them here, sort of thing. I mean, because technically it's a debut, but then it's
the only other one that obviously could technically work, but I think it would split the fan base on how people feel, would be Punk, right? Like, if you get Punk,
it
would make a ton of sense, but some people would be like, "Oh, fuck you." Like,
yeah, no, I absolutely. Even I love Punk. I would not do that.
Yeah.
Sure. Ospreay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what's
because there's
happen
a
with
lot
him
of there's a lot of iffiness in Japan in New Japan at the minute with everybody out that isn't Japanese because of the scheduling.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, there's a lot of people that are pissed off with New Japan.
I just wondered, like, it was just me thinking about it because, like, they've obviously brought in Christian, who's there for, he is going to wrestle, and he's also there for experience to help these younger guys.
100%.
But they even when they brought in, like, Brian Cage when he first came in, obviously that was kind of a big deal. But then they did nothing with him.
Yeah.
And I just wonder when they're going to, like, Moxley obviously was really good when they brought him
Moxley
in,
is the only one they've really nailed.
I think the thing about Moxley was he didn't go straight for the belt, but he went.
No, but he went for the biggest guy.
He went straight for their biggest guy.
Yeah. Same with Pac, actually.
And I want them to be able to do that on a more consistent basis. Because I don't think you have to do that every time.
No.
But I do think there are certain people it makes sense for.
Okay, actually, I've changed my mind. I think they do it, but with the women's title.
Interesting.
Because the women's division needs some power.
And it needs freshening up, right? It needs...
it needs some faces. They have, like, 3.
Yeah.
Where's Nyla Rose gone?
Yeah, I know. That's a good point.
She just completely disappeared. I don't know if she's injured or something.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do there. It'd be interesting. Let's move on.
I don't want to.
Go on.
I hate everything about this. Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's the laziest storytelling that AEW have ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not American.
Yeah, I know. It literally is. It's literally the laziest story ever.
absolutely hate it.
It feels like this is one of my problems where we don't know who, I assume Cody's booking
Yeah, you
his
would
own
assume
stuff.
Cody.
But it almost feels like this story was a vehicle to make Cody the American dream.
I hate that. Because I think the American Nightmare is way cooler.
Yeah.
It's a cool spin.
It's a cool spin, and he doesn't need to be his dad, right?
He doesn't. He did say it was for one night only.
Yeah. So
never do this again,
fair,
please.
Because... I have met Cody, and he's a really cool guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I don't think he would ever do something just to further himself. I don't think he's that guy.
No, and this was part of this is part of my issue with this match. Is I completely understand why it came about, why it's happened, because Anthony Ogogo does look like he's got potential.
Yeah.
He does look very comfortable in here. His frog splash.
Yeah.
His frog splash was nice. It was a good frog
splash. And you know what? Some of the moves that he took them well.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's worth saying.
Yeah.
Is like,
and like when he punches Cody, it looks legit. It looks like he's properly decking.
I mean, that's what you're going to get from a boxer there, right?
The problem was the storytelling.
Yeah, for sure.
The problem was, oh, you're not American. You don't belong here. It's like, well, one, especially now, that's just flat out racism, and it's stupid. It's such a dumb thing to try and do today.
Yeah,
that is dumb. It's really stupid. It's really lazy. Cody should have lost.
Yeah. The thing is,
or he should have cheated.
Yeah.
Because I think Cody's a bit boring at the moment.
Yeah.
I think a heel turn is needed, but the problem is the rest of
everybody else is
everybody's heel.
Yeah.
He's kind of boring, and he kind of I completely get what his role is, where he's trying to lift some younger people.
Yeah,
he did it with Darby Allin wonderfully.
And the thing is, Cody is great at that role.
Yeah,
but the story for this one was so weak.
It was horrible.
That it just didn't work, right?
It was horrible.
And also, with no disrespect to Ogogo, like, he's not quite ready for that yet.
No.
It was good experience for him.
When does it ever work out? When does the foreign bad guy ever really work out in that situation? Never.
Never
happens. Look at what happened to Rusev.
Yeah.
Rusev was the exact thing. Everyone, Jinder Mahal, everyone that has that, just because you're foreign, you're the bad guy. It's so old, and these days
it's an old way of storytelling that doesn't translate to today.
No,
and also not only is it not, it's not something you should even be doing today, really.
Yeah.
But it's also, even when you do it, it's done really badly and in bad taste, and it's incredibly boring because people want to see, I think the best wrestling storytelling, to be honest, is when you feel like you're seeing the real person behind the wrestler.
Yeah.
Right? That's why Cody versus Dustin was such an incredible match.
Yeah, I mean, it's
was
still
because
their
of the
most important
emotion
match.
behind it. Some of the matches in WWE, like, I think back to the John Cena Rock feud, and because that started as a legitimate feud where they genuinely didn't like each other, it made it feel real, right? And anything like that is the best storytelling. When you're doing these, like, characters in wrestling are fine. I get it, they have their place and whatever. But if you're going to do a character, make them interesting and also make them feel real, even if they're not.
The whole thing was just lazy. I think the match was fine. I think the end was like, he didn't even hit him with the crossroads.
Yeah, I know.
He hit him with the Gringo Killer.
Yeah.
When does he ever use that? Like, what the hell?
I don't know.
He took it well, to be fair, but
he took it very well.
I don't know. I think Cody's getting to the end of his rope with me at the minute, because I think he's just boring. I really think he needs a heel run, because his heel work is fantastic.
But you know what I think it might be with Cody? I think he might be going for a while. I wonder.
Well, yeah, because the thing, he's pregnant and shit.
Because he's having the baby soon.
Yeah.
I do wonder whether it's almost like, let's find a way to get him off TV for a while, and then when he
Well,
comes back,
Anthony
we can do
Ogogo breaking
something
his
different.
face would have been a good way to do it.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would have been a great way to do it.
yeah. Cody almost needs a slight character change. You know,
I really, it's not something that will solve everything by any stretch, but I really think a heel run. When he teased a heel run a while back against Darby,
yeah,
and I was like, yes, I love heel Cody. He's way better as a heel because
yeah.
he's that smug. When he was doing, the dashing thing.
Do you know what the funny thing is? The only time he was really good as a face, I think, was when he had the match against Nick Aldis. When it was like for
Sure,
the
yeah,
for the NWA belt, like
yeah.
that, because that made sense for him to be the face in that situation.
I think my biggest problem with Cody in AEW is that he's painted himself into a corner with the not being able to challenge for the title thing.
Yeah, because what do you do with him now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Team him up, put him in a tag team. Awesome.
I mean, they'll get him out of that somehow.
They
eventually,
absolutely will. They absolutely will.
But
And
I don't know how they'll get him out. Of it.
He needs to be a heel when they do it.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way it makes sense. If they do it and he's a face, it's kind of like, well,
now
no,
you're going
because
back on your
promised.
word. Yeah.
If he's a heel, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I think,
for sure.
But then you kind of need to have the rest of the elite not be a heel because then it's just kind of
for sure.
There's too many.
So one thing I do want to say before we move on to the next match, though, because I don't want to sound totally down on this match, I do think there were some very promising signs from Ogogo. Like,
yeah, me too.
I think for how early it is,
he's got the charisma.
Yeah.
Like he's well on his way to, getting it in the ring. He looks like
for sure.
Looks like
I can't wait to see where he's going to be in 6 months' time. Do you know what I mean?
I think they've messed up a little bit here.
Go on.
He should be the one teaming with Ethan Page.
Interesting.
I really think he should be teaming with Ethan Page.
Yeah,
Scorpio Sky doesn't need it. Scorpio Sky should be doing his own thing.
Yeah, true.
But we'll get on to that.
Yes, let's move on.
So next we had Miro versus Lance Archer, and I really liked this match.
So I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to love this match, and I actually watched it back this morning.
Yeah.
I tuned out so much on this match.
Yeah, so I liked it because it was hard hitting. But I think the tune out is because it's Lance Archer.
That's a bit harsh.
No, it's not. Because, again, Cody ruined him.
Yeah.
He was an absolute monster. And then they had their match for the TNT title a year ago, as they made clear. And ever since that match, because that was not a good match.
No.
Lance Archer has just been He's another one I think he could do with a tag team.
Yeah.
I really think he could do with a tag team. It's another one. We've said it earlier. Was Lance Archer ever going to win?
No. And this is the problem. Like every single result, there was only one time for like a split second in this show where I thought they might flip a result on us. Just because of the way that they set up the false finish, like it felt like it might have been the real finish. And we'll get onto that later.
This was also the shortest match.
It was, but it didn't feel like it.
It was shorter than the pre-show.
It felt like this match went on forever. Like I'm not gonna lie, and that's why I tuned out. Like
I get you. I liked it because you got to see Miro doing what Miro should have been doing. Forever.
But do you know what it is? I often don't like, and I'm not saying this is big man versus big man in that sense.
Yeah,
but I often don't like
yeah.
big man versus big man stuff. Like,
yeah,
if you had Miro against, I don't know, literally anyone else, Scorpio Sky, for example, Miro against Scorpio Sky, or Miro against, Pentagon, like.
Yeah.
For me, there's much more interesting things you could do, and I'd actually be far more interested in seeing Archer and Miro as a team than I would them fighting each other.
I wouldn't, but I completely get you. Yeah.
It almost. Do Do you know my problem with this match mostly is when you do a big man versus big man match, in my opinion, especially when it's for a belt, the big man who's not the champion should always win. Because it makes more sense. It's like, I'm bigger than you, I can beat you. I'm the one who can beat you, right? And that to me is when big man versus big man makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you then give the guy who's...
I've never really liked big man versus big man because it always tends to plod.
Yeah. And that's kind of the problem is, let's be clear, neither of the guys did bad in this match. They did their
No.
They did their jobs
again, it's
incredibly well. It's just, and also the position on the card for this match probably didn't help it either. Like, if this was the opening match, I actually think they might have...
I think that's a lot of the problem. A lot of the matches felt like they should have been opening matches.
Yeah.
Nothing really felt important massively because everything was just so obvious.
For sure. So let's move on.
So, Britt Baker, DMD, beats Hikaru Shida.
I liked this.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Interesting.
Shida was sloppy as shit.
Yeah.
She was so slow. I haven't liked Shida, like, at all, really. I think she's competent. But every time I've tuned in to watch her wrestle, there's just something about it that doesn't click. It's,
I know
she slips up, she botches things, she doesn't quite.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
Her style of wrestling, I like her style of wrestling, but she doesn't make it look hard enough. Because she does do like female strong style, a lot of knees, a lot of kicks, but they all look so soft. And then it makes it very difficult for, in this case, Britt Baker to sell it properly because it looks like she should hit her harder than she does. And even though, they don't.
Yeah.
Nothing ever looks like it connects properly.
I kind of was expecting to see someone after this match, though. And
I wasn't because, give Britt her bit.
I just don't understand what's happening with the women right now. That's the problem. It's almost bizarre. Like non-existent. It's almost like
I
don't know.
And again, it's just super obvious.
And I don't know whether that's because Kenny's in charge of the women and he just has a lot to go on right now.
I think he's doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a terrible job. I think he just shouldn't be.
To be fair, I think he did actually do a good job to start with. I think the way it started was good.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. With the tournament,
And then over time, it just was like, what are we doing now?
2 seconds.
All good.
I'm with you. I think after the initial stuff with Nyla Rose and Riho and stuff like that.
Yeah, that initial first storyline was really good.
They've just completely screwed the pooch. The reason Britt Baker is so good is because of Britt Baker.
Yeah.
It's not because of anything else. Britt Baker feels like the only legitimate female wrestler there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else kind of feels like a part-time wrestler because you either don't see them enough, or when you do, they're kind of floppy.
I do wonder.
It really needs a Mickey James or someone like that to come.
I also do wonder, to be fair, because we know they've missed out on a couple of female wrestlers that they kind of made offers to, and then those wrestlers have gone elsewhere.
Sure.
And I wonder whether that has hurt them because.
Well, I wonder how much of that is because they've taken a look at that division and been like, well, no, you don't treat them seriously.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah. But it's weird, right? Because they tried to. I don't understand why they went from we'll try to and then now they're non-existent.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Again, it goes back to the having the wrestlers running and being on the show because they've got to plan their own stuff for the match and angles and stuff like that. But then they've also got to take care of this other thing.
And that's why I said, like, especially for Kenny right now that Kenny is the top guy and now that he's not even only on his own show, like, he might
what they should do?
Too much.
They should try and steal Finlay from WWE. No, it's genuinely, because Finley was a huge
He was
reason
really
the
good, right?
female division in WWE is so good and so dense
Yeah.
and just.
Do you know someone else they could do a good job with, who I understand that produces a lot of the women's matches in WWE? Is Tyson Kidd.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He every single match that I know that he's produced has been like one of the best female matches.
Yeah. He was responsible for the SmackDown Women's match, wasn't he?
Yeah. So
Mania.
So yeah, maybe they just need. This is the thing. It goes back to that thing we were saying earlier. They just need some more people, because they do have people outside of the TV product who are helping them.
Right? Yeah.
But because we know that, for example, Jerry Lynn is someone who is there. We don't know exactly what he does. We know that DDP is kind of around.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I think they need dedicated, and I don't know if they do. Like I said, we don't really know their back end, but I wonder whether they could benefit from dedicated producers for, whether that be for specific matches or for divisions themselves.
Yeah. I think they just need someone to come in and shake up that women's division, because if Kenny is totally in charge of it, like it sounds like he is, he's doing a horrible job at the moment.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Ty Conti looks dope. Ty Conti's fantastic. She wasn't on the card. Like,
and also the other thing is, it then makes you think, okay, whatever you think about, Mark Henry or Big Show, like, those guys do know what they're doing. Why don't you get them involved in that aspect?
Well, that sounds like it's most a bit more what Mark Henry's going to be doing.
Yeah, because they introduced him sort of as trainer as well.
Yeah,
right?
He's an analyst, he's a trainer, maybe a commentator. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's commentator for Rampage. I think
possibly.
I think.
Well, he's definitely an analyst for Rampage. I don't know what that means. We'll find out soon, I assume.
Sure.
Before we move on, I do think the match was good. I think it was carried by Britt a lot.
Sometimes there were a lot that happens, though.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely does. But I think it was, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Shida.
And it's nice for Britt to have her moment, I guess.
Absolutely. I still think, even though they changed it, I think the women's title looks terrible. It looks like one of those pressed pennies you get from a slot machine at a pier or something like that.
No Adam Cole to be seen, though.
He was probably backstage this time.
You kind of thought, oh, is he going to be in the front row?
Yeah, he was probably backstage this time, because you know what Vince is like.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we move on to the next match, can we please retire JR?
Yeah, I agree. I love the guy.
He was awful.
I love the guy, but my God, there were so many slip-ups.
There were so many slip-ups. He called Pac Welsh.
Yeah,
which I get. He's American, but whatever.
And
half the time he just sounded so bored. He did not care.
Yeah.
He forgot Orange Cassidy's name.
Yeah, I know.
That's the title match.
It's just like,
we need to retire JR.
And it's weird because
Big Show was better.
Because
the one appearance.
To be fair though, Big Show, Paul White did also make mistakes. Like
for sure. But he's new.
Yeah,
he's new to it. That's understandable.
Yeah.
JR just kind of comes across like he doesn't care.
JR either doesn't care or he is getting too old to do it.
Both, because there are matches he just does not give a shit about, and you can tell.
Yeah, true.
You can tell when he doesn't care about what's going on.
It'd be interesting, if they do
get Taz back on it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Great.
I was going to say, if they move JR, I wonder what would happen. Who would it be?
So they should go to a 2-man booth anyway, because
I really like. Do you know what? I wasn't actually keen on Tony Schiavone for a little while, but I really like him now.
I mean, he's the best out of the three. Excalibur's not that good.
No,
I don't like Excalibur.
Excalibur's good because he covers for JR. Like, he's good at doing that.
Yeah.
And
he was the one that corrected JR on Pac,
and that almost feels like that's why he's there though with Excalibur. It almost feels like he is there.
Do you know what they should do?
JR, go on.
CM Punk.
CM Punk.
Having come back, don't have him wrestle. Go on commentary. He's dope at it. Or Samoa Joe.
Do you know what the
Yeah,
funny
Joe.
thing is?
If Joe cannot wrestle, if there was a legit reason Joe has not been wrestling,
if he's not allowed,
get him for commentary because he is fantastic.
Yeah. But now you've got me. Now you've got CM Punk on my brain.
Well, do you know why it's on my head?
Go on.
The next show's in Chicago.
Oh God!
In front of a live crowd.
Don't do that. Don't.
Oh, it's gonna.
That.
They're doing it. They know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose.
Don't do that. I mean,
it's gonna happen sooner or later.
Yeah. Did you?
He's gonna come back one way or another sooner or later. I think.
Do you think it's definitely AEW?
I don't think it's definitely either one. To be honest, I think it could be either.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely it's AEW because Vince.
Yeah. I think in AEW, Punk would have the freedom to do whatever he wants, right? That's
more or less. Difference. Yeah, more or less. And I honestly get him in as a commentator.
Can you imagine?
He's fantastic.
Oh my God!
Or get Daniel Bryan as the commentator. He's great. God! He'll just talk about bears. Just talk about bears for an hour. It'd be great.
Yeah. No. You've now got CM Punk on my brain, so well done for that.
I mean, that's not hard. That's not a hard thing. But they're going to Chicago. They're having a bit, and they made a big deal about going to Chicago as well. It's like, you know what you're doing.
But they've also been in Chicago before.
Well, yeah, that's where All In kicked off.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah. But they know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing.
My prediction for that would be that it's not going to be Punk, and it will be.
No, Bryan. I don't think it will be either. If it's Daniel Bryan, I would lose my shit.
I think if it wasn't Punk, Bryan is the next best thing, right? Like you could get away with Bryan.
I would honestly prefer Bryan to Punk.
Yes and no.
Punk hasn't wrestled in a very long time,
so we don't.
Daniel Bryan is still peak. Yeah. He is still one of the best in the
world.
One
thing I would say though is I actually think character-wise, Punk is more interesting. And AEW right now, for me, character-wise, is where they're actually lacking the most.
I think he would be just because we haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
But I think Daniel Bryan's a great character.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad one. I'm not saying
no, for sure.
I just, can you imagine, like...
Imagine if it's both. It's Daniel Bryan. It's not CM Punk. Wait, it's CM Punk as well.
And then they have Joe on commentary. It's like all of them.
Dude, a 3-man commentary booth of Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and Samoa Joe.
Oh my God.
That'd be outstanding.
Anyway, we have more matches to talk about.
Yes, unfortunately. Darby Allin and Sting versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Okay,
Couple of things.
I love Sting.
Sting should not be wrestling.
Is he wrestling? Why?
Do you know
because honestly, at this point, I kind of feel like he's holding Darby Allin back.
One thing I'll say is Sting in the cinematic match worked.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to use him in a few of those types of matches, it would make sense.
Yes.
He never needs to be in a traditional match again.
No, and you don't need to be doing it all the time. Because they were like, again, this is one of the things JR slipped up on. He's like, yeah, he hasn't had a match in, X amount of years. He's like, what?
Yeah.
He's done a bunch recently. What the hell are you talking about? Like, and then he's like, a singles match. Like, this is a tag team match. What the fuck are you doing? JR, please retire. I love you, but you're tarnishing your... It's like The Undertaker. Know when to call it a day, dude. I really wanted to like this match because I love Sting.
Do you know what? I do want to say, just on Sting for a second, I feel for Sting because I think part of the reason that Sting is still wrestling is I think that he doesn't feel closure.
Yeah, for sure.
But my concern is he never will because there's that one match he always wanted that he'll never get.
Yeah, and WWE were never interested in it.
Which is really dumb.
It's bonkers. Literally everyone wanted it except Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's money in it. You're stupid. You were seriously dumb. I think this match was difficult because Sting was in it.
Yeah.
I think Sting should be managing. I don't think he should be in the ring.
Yeah,
I really think he's holding Darby Allin back
I kind
a
of
bit.
agree.
However,
I think, to be honest, I think that not in a bad way. I think Sting should disappear, and he should be somebody that does the old Sting thing where he turns up out of nowhere now and again to help Darby win or
Yeah,
whatever it might be.
yeah.
Help
It
even
feels
the
like
odds.
it feels like after Taz stuff, he should have been that should have been it. It should have been like, I've helped you, now go, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I
It's
mean,
really
to be
weird.
fair, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Sting, because maybe this is all about leading to a Sting retirement where there is
I
a
get the
real
feeling.
passing of the torch moment between him and Darby.
Yeah, I get the feeling Darby's going to turn on him
Yeah,
because Darby has also turned heel a couple of times.
yeah, I agree. I
Um,
agree.
and I think that is where it's going. And it'll be cool because Darby Allin could get thrown. The bit where Ethan Page threw him into the fucking crowd. One, I didn't think Page had that power. And two, fucking hell.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Do you know
Like, Darby
what?
Allin's insane.
One
He's
thing about
so
this
good.
match is obviously it had Sting. I actually think this match wasn't as bad as I expected it to be.
No, me neither, to be honest.
It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But it just highlighted a couple of things. Obviously, the main one being Sting. No disrespect to the guy, because I genuinely do love Sting.
Yeah.
And I do think that, especially when he was in WWE, I actually think he could still wrestle in those couple of matches he had.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could still wrestle at the time. And then he got hurt, and then they were too afraid to use him after that.
It's the Kurt Angle thing. It's what Kurt Angle said. It's like he could keep going, but it's when he stopped was the issue. Because when you stop and try to get back into it, it's so difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that it highlighted for me is something we touched on earlier, where one, Scorpio Sky doesn't need a team, but also I don't even really think Ethan Page does either.
I 100% agree. It feels like, yeah, we need to get these two people in because they're great.
Yeah, it's almost like,
what do we do with them?
They need to both be on the card because they're both great.
Yeah.
But we don't have space for both of them individually, so where do we fit them?
This is the most WWE thing AEW does.
Yeah.
They're getting, like, they've got a lot of fantastic wrestlers. Scorpio Sky is the perfect analogy for this.
Have you got a lot of children in your house?
No, they're outside. And they're making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I don't know where they've come from. It was quiet until we started recording. And now they're just like, it sounds like they're murdering each other. And I'm like,
maybe they're wrestling. Maybe one of them's Kenny Omega.
Maybe they are. I heard someone got kneed in the face, so maybe they are. Maybe they are.
One of them wants to be Daniel Bryan, knee in the face. Yeah.
100%. I mean, who doesn't want to be Daniel Bryan? He's fantastic.
Yes. So I agree with you. This is the most WWE thing that AEW do.
It feels so wasted.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they were really doing something with him, and they were just like, "Nah, we're bored now."
Yeah.
It feels like a really Vince McMahon thing to do.
But this goes exactly back to what I was saying earlier. I think, I don't want to be too harsh on AEW, but I'm just going to say it the way that I see it.
Yeah.
I think they are shit at short-term storytelling.
I genuinely think it's because they're not trying to do short-term storytelling.
And that's what I mean. I don't know whether it's because they're not trying to, but if they're not trying to, they need to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think, like I said earlier, I think their problem is they are looking at too many long-term angles. Like, they are probably looking at what they're going to do with Darby and Sting eventually down the line when Sting does retire and what have you.
But that stuff makes sense and it's fine. But you need to have the
building
short-term
blocks
stuff to get you there. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
And as shit as WWE is sometimes for changing plans and stuff like that, every now and again they hit gold, and often the reason that they hit gold is because they do like a 2-week story that really gets people in.
Perfect example. They had to change last minute, and a match ended up being Balor versus Styles.
Yeah,
completely off the fly, and that was one of the best matches they've had in years.
Yeah, so it's AEW just need to get better at a few things. Like, no doubt, I want to give them praise where they deserve it. They are far better at long-term storytelling than WWE
100%.
have been in a very long time.
100%.
But they're almost too good at it. They're almost, because
They're too reliant on it.
yeah,
They do need, like I said before, you need some long-term. It's like WWE management mode or universe mode. You need some long-term ones, you need some short-term, and you need some medium-term ones.
yeah.
Not everything could be long-term because you need to eventually get.
Also, the reason that not everything can be long term is like they might be setting Jungle Boy up, for example, right now. They might be setting Jungle Boy up to win the belt in like a year's time.
Yeah.
But by the time a year has gone by, people might not even care about Jungle Boy anymore.
Yeah, he might be injured.
So you can't do the long term thing all the time.
Yeah. 100%.
And I
100%.
one thing I do think hurts them, but also helps them. So it's an odd thing, is because they have less pay-per-views. I think that helps them to do long-term stories well.
Yeah.
But it hurts them in short-term storytelling.
Yeah, I do. A lot of the problem is they don't wrap a lot of these stories up on Dynamite.
Yeah.
A lot of these are wrapped up. They like just keep them going and keep them going and keep them going until they can hit a pay-per-view. When they could just wrap them up. You could just have a blowout match, make it a main event, sort of thing.
For sure.
So at this point, we've had 1, 2, 3 throwaway matches.
Yes, yeah.
We've had 3 matches that don't matter at all. They feel like they should just be Dynamite matches. There's been Darby Allin Sting versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, Cody versus a Go-Go, because they did nothing with that angle. Cody just beat him, not even with his finisher, like I said. And Adam Page versus Brian Cage.
Yeah.
3 very throwaway matches that, again, they're all obvious who was going to win.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Cody one is a little bit less throwaway because a Go-Go needed it. Do you know what I mean?
Like
he needed something, and Cody made the most sense.
He got a bit of a showcase, but again, if Cody is going to be going away soon,
it would have made more sense for Cody to
have a go knock his face off.
Yeah,
it's for sure.
We
don't know.
Do you know the other thing is? Do you know the other thing is? They could have ended that match by DQ or something, and it would have made more sense.
Yeah,
like have a Go-Go absolutely destroy him, and the referee get involved, and have a DQ thing. That way, Cody doesn't lose, but a Go-Go comes out looking strong.
Looks like a monster. Yeah.
And my thing is, I wonder whether this comes back to Tony Khan's quest for making it as legitimate as possible. I think that sometimes he wants to avoid the wrestling things that work for a reason.
Sure. I get what you mean.
So I think he wants to avoid DQ finishes, for example, because he wants wins and losses, and he wants those things to matter.
But then the problem, the problem with that is then they're like, wait, no, we're not ready for Adam to fight Kenny. We need to change it, even though he's won the most matches this year. Throw him into it.
And it's really odd because it's like there are, as much as we talk about, there are some really old school things in wrestling that don't work anymore. Mm-hmm. There are mechanics in wrestling that still work, and they work for a reason. Whether we as fans actually like them, don't really matter. They still work and they still serve a purpose. DQ finishes kind of suck, but story-wise they work.
Yeah, it's how you do them. If it's a DQ because he caved his face in, bit different than I'm just gonna low blow him or something, or roll up or something like that.
For sure.
Speaking of roll ups, Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy versus Pac.
Mm-hmm.
This was a fantastic match.
It was.
Until Don Callis got involved.
Yeah, kind of. This was also the one match where I genuinely thought for a split second, are they really gonna shock us here? Yeah, I actually did. I actually did, because I don't know why. I think it was the way this match ended with, Kenny hitting Pac with the belts. That was like, okay, cool. And I thought, once he hits him with the final belt, he's just going to pin him and that'll be it.
Sure.
And then, obviously, Orange comes back in and he hits him with the orange punch. And it's like, are they really going to do this? Because they make a point of the ref. Callis didn't pull the ref out again because they'd already done that spot as well. And it was like, is that it? Like for a split second, and then you have the roll up. One, there was a production issue there, I think, from a TV perspective. The way that they showed that roll up was pretty shit.
I think it was just a shit ending to a good match.
And it was, again, this match almost strikes me as they kind of wanted Kenny to lose, maybe. But for possibly deals with other companies, they need Kenny to remain the champion.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think
I don't
so?
think so. I think they were just doing the Orange Cassidy as the underdog, and we want to make it look like he could win.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Make it a bit fishy so that eventually he could get a rematch of some kind or something.
But then this is kind of the thing, right? It's like, where do you go with Orange Cassidy now? Like, what do you do? Because you're giving Jungle Boy the next match, right? So the only way really to keep Orange still involved in that picture, if that's what you plan to do, is to have Orange get involved in the match with Jungle Boy somehow.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
But that's what I mean. So it's like, what do you do now? You've built up this guy as the underdog, as someone who almost won the belt. You can't now. This is somewhere I think they go wrong as well, that WWE don't do wrong as much, is you can't now just put him back down in some mid-card again.
It feels like the Kofi Kingston thing again, where Kofi lost to Lesnar and he's like, oh, you're just a tag guy now again.
Yeah, and but I just don't get that stuff. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Especially from AEW, who need to build stars, but yet they almost always avoid pulling the final trigger.
It's so weird how it really feels like they keep dropping the ball recently.
Yeah.
Ever since the uncertainty of when they're going to go back on the road.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
and we have also
kind of need to wait until.
To be fair, they have obviously made a bit of fun of it, but we have heard that there may have been some disagreements between the Elite and Cody and
I don't
all
believe
that stuff. And it's like, I don't believe that either. But you do wonder whether, because there are so many people in control creatively of this company, you do wonder whether they're just trying to pull in too many directions sometimes. So it's not necessarily disagreements, but it's more like one week one person wants to do something and they have an idea to do something, but then the next week somebody else says, oh, why don't we do this instead? And it just creates a bit of a
it
mess.
kind of feels like they're working as individuals instead of a team. I don't know. I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of good ideas. I think they do just need that in-between experienced booker to kind of focus it a bit.
Well, my thing about this match, my thing about this three-way match is, one, I think it should have actually have been Pac that lost. Like, Pac should have.
I don't think so. Mostly because I really like Pac and I think he's wasted in AEW currently.
I get that. But what
I agree with you though, because I think Orange Cassidy losing is really obvious.
Yeah.
He was clearly in the match to be the fall guy.
Yeah, and also it's like,
and I wonder if it does set up Pac versus Omega somewhere down the line again.
Yeah, but it's like, how many times are you going to rehash that at that point? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what? I don't want to compare them to WCW because they're better than WCW, but they feel very WCW sometimes, where it's like, yeah, we're just going to do this same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we don't want that.
I really hope this does kind of lead to some sort of feud between Cassidy and Omega.
Yeah.
Whether it's they, cheat to beat down Jungle Boy and then Cassidy comes out to save or something.
Do you know what
like
I'd quite like to see? Do you know what I'd quite like to see? Something like Orange Cassidy basically keeps getting involved in Omega's matches, but not necessarily physically involved.
Yeah, he's just
Almost
hanging
as like a
around.
distraction type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And you know, just have him help Jungle Boy in some way, even if Jungle Boy doesn't win. I think it just makes a tremendous amount of sense, because then Omega can be like, oh, you're trying to get involved in my business all the time or whatever, and they can do something story-wise with Orange Cassidy without having them be
100%.
physically involved, and it makes it interesting, right?
Yeah. I think like I said though, this like actual action wise was easily the best match.
Yeah, I agree.
And like I said, until the interference, because one, it was obvious.
Yeah.
And it was just, again, it's just one of those, we've seen it before.
Mm-hmm. And
it's boring. And this was a problem we had with Roman Reigns, and then they cut it out.
Yeah.
Roman is now just winning.
Yeah.
Went clean over Cesaro, went clean over Daniel Bryan, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it's also
he's kind of getting a bit boring.
It's also one of those things where it's like, I love Kenny, right?
Yeah.
I still think Kenny is one of the best, if not the best wrestler in the
100%.
world.
100%.
However, with no disrespect to anybody else, I don't think he has the best wrestlers to work with right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't think he has the best story to work with either.
Nope.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, I should want Kenny to be the champion, and I don't want him to be the champion.
No, it felt better when Mox was champion.
Yeah.
It felt far more important. It felt like that big deal. As is, I don't like Kenny Omega at the minute. I love him as a wrestler. I agree with you. I still think he's one of the best.
What he's doing.
I think he's incredibly dull. Yeah. I think he's very, very boring, because it's just rehashing things we've seen.
Yeah.
The only point where it got really...
one thing I will say is it's rehashing things we've seen, but not everybody who watches AEW would have seen.
But it's not being rehashed in a good way.
No, that's the problem.
It's, kind of lowest common denominator. Mm-hmm. What is... So, hold on. I'll make my other point first. The only point I generally thought any of this was interesting...
Go on.
...is when he was against the Bucks.
Yeah.
That was the only time it was interesting, because there was some kind of... Yeah, there was some kind of infighting, and then it was just like, no, we're going to turn the Bucks heel, which is fine because they're fantastic. They're far more entertaining than Kenny Omega is at the minute.
However, do you know one thing I would say? Sorry, I don't mean to
go on, cool.
I do wonder whether they are setting up Kenny, though, to almost have that super face moment I was talking about earlier, where maybe they know that someone is coming in. Maybe they already know that in 3 months' time someone's coming in, for example, and they are going to beat Kenny straight away.
I just don't see him losing anytime soon. I feel like he'd lose the rest of the belts first.
I kind of don't. So when is All In? That's September, right? I believe it's September.
I think so, yeah. Because November is Full Gear, I think they say.
Yeah, so they usually do it in September, and we're on June the 1st now.
Mm-hmm.
So All In is the next pay-per-view.
All Out.
All Out, sorry.
All Out.
I always get confused.
They should change one of those names.
And it's just like, I do wonder, because All Out, you expect something big to happen, right? Mm. So I do wonder whether it's a thing of like, I don't think they're going to do the mystery opponent thing for Kenny, because he hasn't got to the point yet where they can say, oh, I beat everyone. Yeah. I would say he actually needs to have the Christian match before they can say that, because that's something they've teased as well. Mm. Like
that was his debut.
And I actually think that would be a really great match. Christian doesn't need to win, but Kenny beating Christian
annoyingly
does something, right?
I actually think there's someone kind of who was pretty ready-made and would be great in that role.
Go on.
Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
They were pushing him towards something like that. They didn't do it with the TNT title. If they kept pushing him in the way they were,
he
would have been a perfect it would have been perfect for him to be the one to go over Kenny Omega, because what a story it would have been as well.
For sure. But I just wonder, because it's like, you know, you obviously got CM Punk on my brain, but I do think to myself, like, if in some miracle world they do know Punk is coming in, or Bryan's coming in, or even Samoa Joe's coming in, because they would know these things. They would.
I don't
already
think any
know
of them
these
beat
things.
him though.
No, but I do wonder whether it's almost like a thing where it's like, we want to get him to that moment, so we're just using whoever we have right now to get him there, right? Because that will then be his big story. Like, can you imagine in some miracle world if we end up with Kenny versus Punk, or Kenny versus Joe, or Kenny versus Bryan?
Kenny versus Bryan is the one.
Like, Kenny versus Bryan has the potential to be one of the best wrestling matches ever, right?
Bro, the knees. Knees. My God. That would be outstanding. That would be up there with like Okada levels.
For sure.
That would be a fantastic.
And I wonder, because they're so long term, and and because we know that, especially in signing wrestlers, they've had a history of signing them months in advance. Like, I assume even with Moxley, I kind of assume, even though they wouldn't say it.
They probably had a deal.
He was probably signed before he actually left WWE. Kind of. In at least a verbal sense.
Yeah. There was probably a verbal thing. That, it gets a bit touchy legally.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Obviously, they would never break the law to do 100%. These things. Yeah. But you do assume, like, I'm sure that Joe has a non-complete clause right now. I'm sure Bryan has the same thing.
No.
No.
No, because his contract ran out.
Geez, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's tricky. It's tricky
because it's one of those things where it's like, I just don't get what they're doing with Kenny. Like, I get it. I get it from the sense of, okay, there are a lot of people who will watch AEW that never saw Kenny do this. They never saw. They don't even really know who Kenny is, right? But that's also the problem, is the people who didn't see Kenny do this don't care about Kenny. Because you haven't made them care yet.
Is I don't mind them going back to that character, but it kind of feels like a poor imitation of that character.
Yeah.
And it kind of, he honestly feels like a bit of a bitch to me. And I hate it, because he never felt like that in Japan. That's not what that character was.
He almost needs to be that character without Don Callis, right?
100%.
That's almost what it is. 100%. If it was him having being the character by himself.
Having Don Callis do the initial thing with Mox. Yeah. And then going on commentary or something. Because I think he'd be great on commentary.
Yeah, he's great.
Would have been way better. But anytime... Don Callis just annoys me, to be honest. I think he's fantastic at what he does outside of on-screen stuff.
They're trying to make Don Callis their Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work.
It's not. It is just, it's got to the point with me where it's annoying. I actively switch off when he's talking. Because he's not as good on the, like you said, they're trying to make him their Paul Heyman, and he's not as good on the mic. He's not a good talker.
But the weird thing is as well, he's obviously in charge of Impact, right? He's in charge. Is he not anymore?
No. He hasn't been for months.
Oh, okay.
He's been off of their website for a long time, and then they just started doing an angle where I forgot the other guy's name, but he's like, you have to make up your mind. You're either going to go do your stuff with Kenny, or you're going to be here running the show.
Oh wow! Okay,
so they are actually making it into a storyline as well.
Wow! Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because I don't know. I just don't know what's going on right now, and it disappoints me because
everything feels very transitional at the moment.
Because it's like we just said, the triple threat match was arguably the best match of the night, but yet again, it was let down by interference, but nothing unique in that interference.
No, and nothing. It almost went on too long as well.
Yeah.
Really, you want the interference, and then you want the end of the match. You don't want it to drag on a bit, because after the interference, it really dragged.
Yeah, it did. It did.
I just hated it. It didn't need it. Kenny,
Do you know
it would
what?
have been
Do you
far
know
more
what would have
impressive
been-
and done more for Kenny's character if he
Hmm.
won that match without the interference.
Yeah, and do you
Even
know,
if it was a case of like Pac hit, had or either one hit their finisher on the
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
and then he threw him out the ring just like Cassidy did and picked up the win. Then
yeah, for sure, for
I
sure.
think that would have been.
Do you
fine.
know what I think would have been interesting for Kenny? It doesn't do much for Kenny as a character, but I think it does something for Kenny as a wrestler for those who haven't seen him before.
Yeah.
Is if you want to use Don Callis, do that, but have Don Callis's interference mess up where it almost costs Kenny the match.
And again, just going back to the Paul Heyman thing. How often does Paul Heyman actually involve himself in a match?
Very rarely.
Exactly.
Very, very rarely.
Exactly.
Um,
So it means more when he actually does it. Don Callis
Yeah.
is constantly getting in the way, and he is the most boring part of that whole dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing is like they obviously wanted to use Gallows and Anderson on this pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Why not, if you want an interference in this triple threat match that bad, why not use them here? It would have been different.
No DQ match.
You could have had a situation where Pac and Orange team up to get rid of Gallows and Anderson from the match.
100%.
It's
100%.
you could have done something interesting with an interference. I get having Don Callis pull the referee out. That's fine. That part was fine, I think.
I thought it was too obvious.
It was, but I get it if that's where you're going with it. If you're going that Kenny's going to lose unless someone does this.
Yeah, so to me, it just backed the whole he is a bit of a bitch at the moment thing.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't look like the best wrestler in the world.
No. And it's weird, right? Because if people were seeing him right now for the first time, seeing him right now for the first time, they would go, "Oh, what's so special about this guy?"
100%.
Because
he felt more special when he was teaming with Hangman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they've done
to be fair,
real damage currently.
To be fair, I think, and I've mentioned it before, but AEW's use of Kenny, I don't know who's booking Kenny because I don't actually think Kenny's booking himself.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think he is. I think
probably Khan. It's probably Khan because he's got, he's the big, he's got the hair.
Maybe. I'm not
knows?
sure. I mean, I know that each of them is in charge of kind of a different division, but I think Cody is kind of in charge of his own stuff now. It sounds like,
for sure.
Because he deals with the Nightmare Family and all that shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's booking Kenny, but my thing right now is, and actually the whole time in AEW, I think Kenny has been incredibly misused. Because I think they were scared to use him early on as their main star when they should have.
Yeah.
I think they were scared to use him early on because I think they thought people would go, "Oh, it's just these guys giving themselves the top spot."
It's the Kurt Angle TNA thing. It's obvious.
Yeah.
He's literally the biggest star.
But sometimes...
Arguably Jericho as well. And I think that worked out for them.
But sometimes the obvious thing is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And Kenny...
Look at Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Look at Roman Reigns right now.
For me...
The obvious thing to do was turn him heel and give him the belt. They turned him heel, gave him the belt, and he's the best thing in wrestling currently.
Precisely. And this is my thing. This is why I think Kenny's so misused, is, in my opinion, he should have been the top guy straight away in AEW. If you want to make him the top guy and you want to do this story with him, do it at the start.
I think the Jericho stuff at the start made more sense.
Okay.
Personally. I 100% get you. I think he should have been in and around that more, but I also really liked up until now, I've had no problem with how, not necessarily how they've used him, because I don't think he's, they needed to put more importance on him. But I love the tag team. The tag team was fantastic. Yeah. The matches were fantastic. Ever since the Don Callis stuff, it's all gone downhill, personally.
Yeah, for sure.
I think before that it was fine. I think now is a perfect time because Jericho is one of the most recognizable wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
Because he's wrestled everywhere. So having
Also,
him as champion works.
can we just talk for a minute about how is Jericho still so good?
Oh yeah, he's insane.
Like, how is he still so good?
We on that note, we should probably talk about the final match.
Yeah, that's.
Well, actually, first, sorry, this is why it makes it even more weird. Just had a grueling 3-way title match. We're gonna take a break to talk about Mark Henry.
Yeah, why have
Really
that
weird
moment
placement. Because I get it, they want to make a big deal of it, but it's not like you're announcing Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Samoa Joe. You're not announcing Kurt Angle. You're not announcing Bret Hart. You're not announcing. Yeah. Mark Henry's fantastic.
Mark
but he's
Henry's
not
cool, but
main
he
event
didn't need that,
spot
right?
caliber. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really weird. And it wasn't like
unless-
he came out and got involved or anything. It was just like,
and
"Where's
this
Mark Henry?"
and this was the other thing is like, you know, I almost want to say that if you were bringing Mark Henry in as a wrestler, then give him something there.
Well, that's what everyone thought because dude is in shape at the moment.
Yeah.
He's been working his ass off. So everyone, the thinking was he was going to get back in the ring, but it doesn't sound like he's going to.
No.
It's really bizarre.
Really odd.
Really odd. And
But
I really hope Big Show doesn't get back in the ring.
Let's move on to the main event because I really liked this one a lot.
I wanted to.
Interesting.
I really wanted to, but it really feels like, you know how WWE overused stipulation matches?
Yeah.
Kind of felt like that.
Kind of.
One, the Inner Circle stuff should have been done after Blood and Guts. I don't think we need to keep this going. I think it should have just been done then.
Do you think that's not it now, though? Do you think, like, after this Stadium Stampede?
No, because I honestly think the result was wrong.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think... What do you do with Inner Circle now? They've done everything. They need to split up. Santana and Ortiz are a fantastic tag team, and they're not being used as such.
Yeah.
Guevara should be doing his own stuff because he's learned enough from Jericho.
Do you not think the thing that you do now is you let Inner Circle have a little bit of a face run and then
I think you could do that separately though.
And then you do like this infighting thing because I'm assuming that we're going to get somehow, some way, we're going to end up with Guevara versus Jericho, I think, at some point.
We've already done the infighting thing, though.
Yeah.
That's what led to the Pinnacle. But regardless, I think the result was wrong. I think we shouldn't have had this match. And I don't think they justified having the match because the first one did a lot of very inventive things. And again, there was a lot of standout. Matt Hardy doing his thing in the pool, Kenny Omega dropping Guevara.
Yeah.
Again, it was very obvious because straight away, one of the commentators was like, "Oh, Guevara's probably going to want revenge because he lost last time." I was like, "Well, he's going to win the match, isn't he?"
Yeah.
It's going to be Shawn Spears because fuck me, Shawn Spears doesn't get a chance to do anything, does he? The poor bastard.
No.
I love Shawn Spears. I think he's great.
I enjoyed it. The way I described this match is I enjoyed it, but I don't know how good it was.
I don't think it was good.
Yeah.
I think the way they cut between, different bits of action was very poor.
Yeah.
I think it was horrible the way they were cutting.
Why the hell was Conan part of this?
I know, that was really odd. That was really weird. Because they know who Conan is. How would they not notice?
Yeah.
They were in the clubs first. It was dumb. It just really felt forced. It didn't feel like this should have happened at all. It really felt like we should have moved on from this anyway. And if we were going to do this, Pinnacle needs to win because they're still new.
Do you know the other thing is the only way that they should have carried on this feud, really, is it should have resulted in a one-on-one between Jericho and MJF. Like
you can.
You should
I think that would have
somehow
honestly made more sense.
Yeah.
I think you can do that, but I honestly think that would make more sense if they lost.
Do you know what the worst thing is? Yet again, at the end of this match, my thing is a little bit like you, not just about the Inner Circle, but about all of them. Is where the hell do they go now?
Well, my biggest worry about this entire event.
Yeah.
How much of this has been rehashed from last year?
Yeah.
a lot of the spots in the Stadium Stampede were just straight up copied from last year and just flipped. So it was Guevara riding the thing.
also think
instead of a horse, they were motorbikes. It's like,
I'm not gonna say they were limited, but I think because they had to still, I think I would be interested to see, like, if they were on the road, for example, and this event wasn't in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see how different it would have been.
I'm pretty sure they were running out of time.
Okay, interesting.
Because Kenny Omega, Orange Cassidy, and Pac all came down to the ring very, very quickly.
Yeah, true.
They didn't get proper entrances.
True.
They kind of had to rush down the ring. I think they were running short on time.
Does that make you think that maybe they missed a few things from the main event that they would have done otherwise?
Maybe.
Because there seemed to be a weird cut at some point in that.
They did.
Match. It's odd.
My biggest problem with the Stadium Stampede is the first one was fantastic. The first one was a lot of fun. The second one, it didn't really...
It felt more forced, right?
It did. I don't think we ever needed another Stadium Stampede match.
No.
Like I said, it didn't feel like, especially after Blood and Guts, because that was a definitive Inner Circle got beat.
Yeah.
That should have been it. All this does is weakens the Pinnacle, because the Pinnacle looks shit through the entire thing.
Yeah, for sure.
They look pretty poor. Like, Dax and Harwood got their asses kicked. They never looked, they never looked on top.
I suppose
MJF got his ass kicked the whole time.
I suppose this is one of those things where it's like, this is yet again a sign of like, oh, we don't really know what we're doing because we don't think short term.
The Stadium Stampede should have been a Dynamite match.
Yeah, true.
I really think having it... One, I don't think it should have been the main event. The Kenny Omega match should have been the main event. If you had it as a Dynamite, you can make the whole day about that, which would make more sense.
Yeah.
The first time it worked because what the fuck is a Stadium Stampede match?
For sure.
This time it just felt like they ran out of ideas for it, which is shocking because this is only the second one.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrying, right?
It was it was exactly a year ago, more or less, that we had this. Don't make it an annual thing, please.
No.
Please don't make it an annual thing. Don't make Blood and Guts an annual thing.
For a start, it's not... I actually think Blood and Guts is far more interesting, and I think you could... You
don't want to make it an annual thing.
No, but I think you could get away with it with that one, right?
No, diminishing returns. Hell in a Cell now means fuck all.
True.
Hell in a Cell used to be, this is it. That's it.
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell is just another match now.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's a good point.
Blood and Guts. That's my biggest issue with this whole thing.
I suppose
Blood
my
and Guts
point is
should have been the end for this.
Yeah. I suppose my point is, like, Stadium Stampede, for one, is not an interesting enough thing to carry on doing anyway, right?
It was a product of the time. It was a product of there's no one in the arena. There is a product of we can't go on the road. Let's do something interesting.
Yeah, and it was interesting the first time.
It was.
And then it was like, okay, now we kind of know what we're getting, so we don't need the same thing again.
Yeah.
But then I do think about like Blood and Guts and stuff like that. I think, do you know what's quite funny? I think there's something that this shows. AEW, a weakness that they may have is they're not very good at gimmick matches.
Yeah. Do you know one gimmick that really sticks out to me?
Go on.
That brass ring one.
Yeah.
The Scorpio Sky one.
What did it even mean?
What the fuck was the point? What did he get?
Because first of all, I thought that was going to be a Money in the Bank type thing.
I thought that was going to lead to a title match of some kind, but it didn't lead to anything.
No.
It was just, you won.
I really think they could benefit from, obviously they'd have to come up with their own version of it, but I do think they need some sort of Money in the Bank type thing. I think that could really help them. And I do think they need gimmick matches that aren't just gimmicks. And that's
I think they need to be more inventive with it, because the gimmick matches they have are just rehashes of stuff they can't get from WWE.
Yeah. The Blood and Guts one is fine because that works and it does serve a very interesting purpose, like, and also that, War Games, it is War Games. Let's be very clear.
I think the Casino Battle Royal could work if they make it more important. Because at the minute, it kind of feels like the Andre the Giant Memorial, but with a title match after it.
Yeah.
And then change it up a bit because the rules are stupid. They're so dumb.
So basically, this is my problem, and I do actually think it stems from them having less events, less pay-per-views, right? Where it's like right now, I get that you're still new, but you don't have your closest thing to WrestleMania is which one is it? All In?
Yeah, I think so, because that was the big one that kicked them all off, wasn't it?
It's whichever one is in September is basically their. That is their.
No, I think it is All In because that's where it all started from, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's their biggest. To be honest, I would have positioned Double or Nothing as that because it sounds like it should be.
Well, this is my thing, but Double or Nothing for me now, because of what they have made it, because it's showy and it's got the casino theme, it
feels more SummerSlam, doesn't it?
It basically needs to either be their SummerSlam or their Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It needs to be one of those things.
Yeah.
And, I could talk about ways that I'd fix the AEW loads. There's loads of things I could say.
I'm sure we'll do that at some point.
But I want to touch on one key one after this event. And I really think they need to give more unique identity to these events. They don't need them to be gimmicky.
Yeah.
But they need them to feel more like they're more than just a big show. Yeah. They need, like for example, if Double or Nothing had the Casino Battle Royale and it did feel more like a Royal Rumble, in terms of just that match itself.
So honestly, I think what they could do with that is amalgamate a Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank into one.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a chip, and then you can cash in. Make it like how Austin Aries made the X Division title option C.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
I think it could be really interesting. So he's literally, you get given a chip. Mm-hmm. You get a chip that you can cash in.
Yeah.
Because that makes more sense than.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention before we finish here is I think that they need something to help them, and I don't mean people. They need something actually on the show that could help them short-term story-wise, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder whether that is some sort of version of the Hardcore Championship. Whether they do some sort of Hardcore Championship or some type of thing where they can have something almost more as a short-term story device than
TNT Open Challenge.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah.
That should be a rule for that title, that every week on TNT or TBS, you have to defend that title. Maybe that's what Rampage is. Maybe Rampage, because it's still on TNT, you have to defend that title every single week.
Maybe. That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. Well, I'm sure we'll see what the future holds for AEW pretty soon.
Yeah.
I am excited. Like, AEW is still the one that excites me the most right now because we still
there's just so much unknown.
Yeah, they don't really they don't 100% have their identity yet, right? They're still building it. They're still building it. They are. I think what they've done so far is, they're coming up to 2 years old now, pretty soon.
Almost, yeah.
And it's like, if you look at them in 2 years compared to TNA in the first 2 years, there is a massive difference.
Yeah.
It took TNA about 5 years to get to where AEW.
Yeah, it took them. The benefit they have is they don't have Jeff Jarrett's ego.
For sure.
To contend with sort of thing. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see where they go.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what. I just want them to improve a few little key things.
Yeah.
And because I genuinely believe that they could have the best wrestling product. Because I think the
They did for a while.
elements of what they do,
Yeah,
the best.
they genuinely did for a while. Honestly, ever since Kenny's got the title, that's where it started going downhill for me.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I like it didn't dip immediately because, like I said, the Bucks stuff was interesting.
For sure,
but then when they turned, it was like it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm sure we will see. I'm sure in future we will react to the next pay-per-view. I think that's something. That's something we do plan to do is major pay-per-views. We will react.
Yeah, we're not going to do every WWE one because they don't.
There's too many of them, and they're not.
There are too many. We don't have the time to do that.
No, for sure.
I think on the whole, this one though, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It just kind of lacked substance for me.
It was. This is the problem. Is it was good. Like the wrestling was good.
Yeah.
It was a fun show to watch. It just felt like it didn't have any consequences.
Yeah.
And partly that's because
even the title change.
Yeah.
Because it was just so obvious.
And partly that's because it's so obvious. Partly it's because we don't know what all the consequences are yet of some of these things. Mm-hmm. Because I do think some of them will have interesting story things that happen.
For sure.
But we have to wait and see, and I'm sure that in a couple of weeks' time we will probably talk about where they've gone since this event as well and bring that up. We'll do like a little update on AEW.
Yeah.
Because I do want to get some more AEW content on the channel.
Yes.
Because we've done quite a lot of WWE so far in the first few episodes.
Yeah.
But with that brings to an end the Power Hour for this episode. I don't even know how long this one is, so I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, we have 2 words for you around here. Luke, what are those 2 words?
Please subscribe.
Yes, please subscribe, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.